As more and more companies move towards a modern workplace, with staff operating remotely from one another, there's more need than ever for that 360-degree view which we all strive to attain. Managers want to see who is working on what and to track team productivity, and colleagues want to work smart by having a view of which sales orders are being progressed or which customer is being regularly engaged and looked after. Enter activities. Welcome to this SKillUp training resource provided by Evorio. Activities in Dynamics CRM are a core part of maintaining visibility of what's going on in your business and with your contacts or customers. They're quick and easy to use, so you no longer need to waste valuable company time making lists or keeping filing cabinets of sales or customer service activities. And they're great to report on for business or management information. The Activities feature provides a great way to build a to-do list of items with future due dates and tick them off as you complete them with relative ease. What's more, they're presented neatly in a newsfeed-style timeline or as a Kanban calendar. Let's take a closer look. Dynamics comes with some standard entity types, including arguably these most commonly used types: tasks, phone calls, emails, notes, and appointments. Note that it is also eminently possible to create custom activity types as well, in order to fit in with the specific needs of your own CRM. In this session, we will generally be covering functionality and best practice, focusing on tasks, phone calls, and notes. Appointments and email tracking will be covered in a future session. These activities can be accessed globally from the Activities area of CRM, or locally from within an individual lead, contact, account, or opportunity. Even custom CRM entities can be enabled to allow the use of activities. Think, as an example, of a school who may have applications as a custom entity, against which they want to record activities such as phone calls with parents, tasks to remind staff to send out timetables, or emails regarding the student that have been tracked directly from a staff member's Outlook. Click into Activities to see some pre-provided standard activity views, and some segregated by activity type, and by status, or by time frame, i.e. if they are complete, or if they are still due for completion, and when they are due. Most CRM systems come with standard activity buttons along the top menu bar, which, if clicked, launch a page that allows for the creation of a new activity of that type. In this case, let's look at creating a task in a phone call record. Click the Task button, and from the page that loads, start to complete the information required. Enter a relevant subject line that summarizes the activity that has been completed or is still due to be completed, and then provide more detail, if necessary, in the description field. Remember, though, that activities help other members of the team to keep abreast of actions you have taken on a particular piece of work or with a particular customer. So provide enough information to describe the activity, but not so much that it makes adding your activities a cumbersome part of your day. Now set your regarding field. This is an important step as it informs which customer or piece of work, or company or contact, this particular activity should be associated with inside the CRM. It is worth setting some kind of precedent within your team that dictates the overall convention of how you associate your activities. For example, most sales companies prefer to tag activities like phone calls or tasks, etc., to individual pieces of work, like sales opportunities or customer service support tickets, and not to the overall company or contact record that the opportunity is for. The reason being, you may conduct multiple pieces of business or engagement with a company or contact over the course of your business relationship with them, and trying to sift through a mass of activities to find those which pertain to a particular project or piece of business, for example to determine when you are due to send important sales documents, or find what was agreed during a phone call, would be fairly difficult if everything was tracked in one large heap. Now complete the date-related fields. Each CRM may have these fields named differently or positioned differently on the form depending on how it has been customized. But in this case, the actual start and end dates are more relevant to an activity that has already been undertaken and which will be marked complete in the system right away. And the due date is where you can set a future expected date for actions you are going to be completing in the future. In this example, I would like to indicate to my team that I will be sending Bob the contracts for his annual renewal, so I'll clear the actual dates and indicate the due date on which I intend to complete this piece of work. I will then save and close the record, rather than marking it complete, as, well, it isn't complete. As I have set a due date, the task is automatically dropped into the My Activities view, which acts like a sort of digital to-do list to remind me of what I have upcoming on my plate. What gets measured gets done, right? Now, on to phone calls. To recall that I have made a phone call, or intend to make a phone call in the future, click the Phone Call button from the Global Activities area or from within a record, and have a look at what fields are presented for completion. Again, enter a subject summarising the objective of the call, and more detail in the description if required. Some people like to line up their phone call records in advance by creating them, setting a due date for the future, and entering an intended agenda in the description box. Once they are ready to physically place the call, or multiple calls, they can return to the record inside CRM and be reminded of their agenda. Once it is complete, they can additionally add the outcome of the call before marking the record as closed. This helps you to be much more organised with managing your workflow. Now take note of the Call From and Call To fields, which are specific to phone call activities. Whilst above we have discussed keeping the Regarding field for the piece of work to which the activity relates, and while this is still relevant, these From and To fields relate to the individuals involved in the call. The From will always be defaulted to the current logged-in CRM user. That's you. And the To is the lead or the contact you chatted to on the phone. So in this case, Bob. Now you can set a duration if required, say if your business is tracking productivity and time spent, and when you are ready, either mark the record complete if it has been completed, or set a future due date and save and close for later. Again, businesses may have more, or less, or different phone call fields to suit their specific business needs. Some may even have very clever automation set up that auto-creates follow-up activities, copying across key information from the originating activity if a follow-on date is populated in a field. Well, that's just halved your admin, not having to create another task. Now let's have a look at raising activities from within a record. In this case, we'll have a look at an existing opportunity. Once we're in the record, you'll note the timeline feature which displays a news feed of sorts of all activities logged against it. This timeline may be in different areas of the page depending on the customization of your CRM, but the functionality shouldn't differ too much. You can sort the timeline in differing date orders, refresh it to view any new records created, filter by a number of criteria, and you can additionally search for activities using keywords in the search command bar at the top. Or choose to expand all to preview data. You can see both open and completed activities, and a preview of detail, as well as perform some quick actions that either assign the record to a colleague, add to a work queue, delete the activity. Lastly, you can click Open Record to open the activity in a new window and see a bit more information than what the preview provides. Back to the timeline. Let's now add a note and include an attachment. To do this, click the plus and then choose Note from the list of activity types. Alternatively, you can type the note directly into the note box at the top of the timeline. Give your note a title, then enter the text, noting that you have a nifty word processing style editor to cater for additional formatting requirements. And then to add an attachment, click the paperclip and locate the file on your computer. In this example, let's add the contracts we just set a task for to send to Bob next week. Click Add Note once complete. It's worth noting that notes should not replace tasks and should be more generalized FYI comments that don't need to be reported on. They are harder to search for and therefore make it harder to ascertain action taken, and they do not allow you to set dates. Now we can see this note in our timeline in addition to the task and phone call we created earlier. Now, to get really clever, some companies choose to create custom Rollup fields that show when the next activity is due on a record, say a sales opportunity or a customer service support ticket, using the due dates set on open activities. Or they like to see the last activity and when that was completed, and this uses the actual end date on completed activities. It gives you a great way to see when the next actions are to be taken for a customer and when the previous ones were undertaken. Moving back to the Global Activities area, we can now see our to-do list, which includes all open and closed activities across all pieces of work on which you and your team are collaborating. So even if you add an activity on a sales opportunity owned by a colleague, the activity is owned by you and will appear in your own activities list. Make sure that you make use of the out-the-box time-related views to see filtered lists like due in the next 7 days or completed this week to help keep track of your KPIs and productivity. Next, watch our video on charts and dashboards to see how to turn your activities data into measurable visuals, and you'll find that you could set up a one-stop shop My Sales Activities dashboard that shows you a pie chart of activities completed this month, filtered by activity type, showing you what you spend most of your time doing, perhaps a bar graph showing activities by work item to see which of your customers you were spending the most time on, and a list of all open activities to act as this to-do list, which shows you what you have to complete before you can kick back and relax. Now that you have the basics down, think about how you can start to leverage the power of activities in your or your business's day-to-day, so that once you've measured the things, you can do the things. Thank you for watching this SKillUp training resource provided by Evorio. Follow us for more in the What Gets Measured Gets Done series, where we cover goals and other elements of reporting.